Tonight's workshop is about using Holbein's Luminous Watercolors. Oh my gosh, y'all, these colors are they pop right off the page. They're so amazing. And so this is what they look like right here. And if I had a black light, like I can't find my black light, it's normally right here next to me, but it's not there right now. I'm like, where did it go? Ah. And so this, when you put a black light against some of these colors, they're very neon. They're very reflective, right? Um, but that's not, I'm just going to be painting some flowers using these colors to show you how you can get super bright florals. In this case tonight, we're talking about florals, but you could do anything that you wanted to with these very bright sort of neon like colors, right? And you might not have even known that there were watercolors available like that. This is called the Luminous set from Holbein. I'll show you what they look like inside. What I love about Holbein is they give you an insert inside the package, and on the back, look at this, it explains everything that's on the tube. And I think that's very helpful, especially for someone who's new to painting. So this is what they look like right here. It's 12 different colors, and they call them their luminous colors. Now, these are not light fast colors. My regular Holbein paints are very light fast watercolors. These, however, are not light fast. And what that means is that they are, instead of pigment based, they're dye based. And dyes will, if you have them in the sun, they will fade very quickly. So you do need to know that about these paints, is that they will fade. They're made more for illustration, and then you scan or you photograph your illustration and then you sell your prints rather than selling originals. Now, I do have a little trick that I'm going to show you right now. Hey there, Granny got, what is it? Granny got taste. There you go. You got taste. You're here. So, what I use, for instance, for these artworks, which are florals that are done with these luminous paints, is I have taken a UV, so it says UV archival varnish to spray on top of them. And the interesting thing is that this UV archival varnish says that it's gloss, but when you spray it on watercolor, which you can do, you can spray it on watercolor. Do you see any gloss there? I mean, basically, it just looks like watercolor. Okay, which generally dries matte. So it does not give a big gloss to your paint, to your watercolor paint. And I found it really doesn't affect the paint at all. Now I took it outside and I did light sprays. I always do a spray in one direction, leave it for half an hour or so, and then do a spray in the other direction. So each one of these artworks, I am comfortable now in selling. I'm not charging big prices, but I am comfortable selling them because I have sprayed them with a UV spray. If you have bright colors like these and you go, oh my goodness, I know that's, that's not going to last because the colors are super bright, um, then put it behind UV glass. When you get your items framed, or when you go to a frame shop, you can ask them for UV protective glass. And that's what you would put over top of this. And that helps, just like with the UV archival spray, which all of these have been sprayed with the UV archival spray. That helps to keep the effects of the UV rays from the sun from making these die out very quickly. Okay. So that is a trick that I use to be able to still sell these to you, uh, even though they're using reactive dyes. That's one way that you can help to keep those reactive dyes from fading as fast. Doesn't mean they're not going to fade. It just means they might not fade as fast. Now I have a painting that I used some dye-based watercolors with, and I did the painting about 4 years ago, and one of the colors is almost completely gone. Like I don't have, I didn't know, and so I didn't spray it with a UV spray, and I didn't put it behind UV glass, and one of the colors is all gone. So that's just something to be aware of. But if what you're doing, like Flower Gazer, for instance, over on Whatnot, if what you're doing is creating work and then scanning it or photographing it, uh, for her books, for instance, Flower Gazer writes books, then children's books, then you can absolutely use these beautiful, what we call high key colors, um, on your illustrations, because you're going to be scanning them or you're going to be photographing them. Okay. Also, bear in mind, sometimes colors like this one right here, and this one right here can be difficult to photograph. Even right here, it's hard for the camera to pick up exactly how brilliant these are. So I definitely recommend trying them on your scanner if you have one, or taking them to a place where you can have your work scanned and let them deal with it as they try to match it up to your original, right? So besides the paint today, you're going to need some sort of palette. So this is a palette. And, if you want to follow along with what I'm going to show you how to do today with these wildflowers, you don't have to have these luminous colors. You can use the colors that you already have and the brushes that you already have, not to worry. So please, feel free to follow along. Um, but this is the little porcelain color mixing palette that I have, that I put some of these luminous colors in already. And then to go along with that, what I found when I was painting with these is this is the darkest green that it comes with. Now I was able to mix this green with some of this blue and get a little bit darker green. And then you can take that darker green and mix it with a little bit of orange, and you'll get an even darker, more olive green. So I was able to do that. I'll show you, for instance, here, I created this little bit of brown out of those colors that are in the set. And I also created this kind of olive green out of the colors that are in the set. But usually when I'm doing florals, I like a kind of dark, punchy green. So what I did was I'm going to supplement with this is my Van Gogh pocket box. So just watercolors. You might just have a tube of, say, sap green handy. And in this set right here, this color is sap green. So it's SAP, like the sap of a tree, sap green. And so I've got a nice sap green right here that I can use to supplement those luminous colors if I want. And, you can mix watercolors together. Doesn't matter what brand it is. It doesn't matter what, colors they are. You can mix the colors together. Okay. So the fact that I'm going to be using the Van Gogh watercolor together with the Holbein watercolor, it doesn't matter. You're good. You're good to go. So sometimes people ask questions like that. For the acrylic painting and the oil painting, is it okay to mix different brands? Absolutely. Use what you have, and mix to your heart's content, right? That's what I do. I have another palette in the other room, and it has all different brands of paint in it. Oh, I like that color from that brand and that color from that brand, and I put them together in my own custom palette because those are the colors that I like. So yes, it's okay to go ahead and do that. Um, so we're going to be using that. I also have just a spare one. This is just one of those very cheap, what are they, like 59 cents? Or you go to the Dollar Tree and it's $1 or $1.25 for three of them, right? It's just a plastic palette. So if I need a little bit more mixing room for mixing different colors, I've got a spare handy just in case. Um, the brushes we're going to use today are going to be watercolor brushes. And these are, these are from Famui. This is a synthetic squirrel, and this is a sable hair here. So you don't need anything fancy for what we're doing. Just a couple of round brushes would be good. Now I did get myself out a Famui detail brush. Hey, Leanne Phoenix, welcome in over on Whatnot. And this has a nice snappy tip. This is one of the Famui detail brushes, and it holds a nice amount of paint. And so I always find, especially if I'm doing wildflowers or flowers in general, sometimes you want to get in there and put little lines on the petals or the little dots in the middle. So it's helpful to have a little tiny detail brush. And Famui has an amazing price on their set of detail brushes. So I got these recently, so I would have a nice full set with different sizes. Yeah, like I have enough, don't have enough brushes, right? Now, this is the special brush that I wanted to feature today. And it's by, I think, Leanne Rainey, designed it together with the folks at Princeton Brush. So this is a Princeton brush, and it is the Blooms brush. Okay, can you get the brush? Yes, Princeton, Princeton. Can you see it right there? Princeton. And then it is the Blooms, and it's part of the Velvet Touch line. So do you see right there? It says Velvet Touch. It only comes in one, the one that starts with F. Oh, Famui. Okay, here, let me show you. You were asking about the Famui brushes. So there you go. Famui, F-U, what is it? F-U-U. F-U-U-M-U-U-I. All right. And every time I finish my videos on YouTube, I go into the description and I put links to all of these items that we're using. Unfortunately, I noticed that this brush was out of stock, um, but I'll see if I can find it somewhere else, than my normal places that I link to be sure that you have access to it. But it's an interesting brush. First of all, it's a long handle. So you see it's like, made for way back here. And it is the nice large top. So you can do big fluffy flowers with it. And it is, what I found interesting about it is that it's a combination between a filbert, which is a rounded top like this, and a flat, which goes like that, right? But if you look at this brush, it's rounded on the edges, but it's flat right here on top. Isn't that interesting? So they made this special brush for her, which is so nice. And I've been playing with it and having a lot of fun with it. So I'm going to show you how it works tonight, along with these other brushes. Now, I do have many other brushes in the Velvet Touch line. Let me find those right here. Oh my gosh, I have so many different Velvet Touch brushes from Princeton, and I love these as well. So I, it's one of those things. I'm kind of art product ADD. Who else out there's art product ADD? Raise your hands, right? Because I test a lot of things since I'm a teacher, and I like to be able to tell people what works, or what to use for different techniques. And these work just as well. So this is the Velvet Touch brushes. It's just I find the Famui are a very good quality, but a lesser price for the initial investment than the Velvet Touch. But the Velvet Touch are excellent. And I've used the Velvet Touch for longer than I've used the Famui. Let's just say that. Okay. And we're also going to be, well, let's talk about paper for a moment. So any kind of watercolor paper. All right, y'all, don't stress over the paper. What I like is I like 140-pound paper when I'm doing artwork like this that I'm going to sell. Now, if you'll notice that with this paper, I love painting on decal edge or rough edge paper. Do you see how this paper edge right here is a little bit rough along there? That's called a decal edge. And I love working on decal edge paper because it's obvious that it's a hand done piece, right? Not a print, because prints don't come generally with the decal edge. And so you can buy packs. So this is a pack. That's actually what these were done from, is this pack of decal edge paper. I just bought it in a pack of 50, very reasonably priced, but it's 140-pound watercolor paper. Nice, right? The other type that I recommend is the Jack Richardson. So right up here, it's Jack Richardson. And this is a 4x6. These were also a 4x6, but they come in different sizes. And the same with the Jack Richardson. It's beautiful paper. The interesting thing is the Jack Richardson, to save a little bit on money, they make it 135, what does it say? 135 pounds instead of 140 pounds. But you're not even going to notice the difference, y'all. When you use it, it's going to feel like it's 140-pound paper. You're not even going to notice it. And these are postcard size, the 4x6. And these have the cut edges if you prefer that, as opposed to working on the ones that have the little bit rougher and a little decal edge. These are a little smoother. The Jack Richardson 135-pound. This comes in multiple sizes, so you don't have to be restricted just to this one. I have some of the other sizes of this too. And you know what? If you're a teacher or you're just producing a lot of work, or you're teaching yourself, you're playing, you're doing it with kids, the Jack Richardson folks sell this same paper, the well, they sell two grades. So one is, I think, either 80 or 90-pound, and the other one is this 135-pound. They sell it in bulk, so you can buy like 250 sheets, 500 sheets. It's awesome. Very well priced for an excellent paper. Again, that is Jack Richardson right there, if you're interested in their papers. But I'll have a link to it in the description of the video on YouTube by tomorrow. And then this is the book that I'm going to be doing some color swatching in. So I'll show you some of the color mixing that I was doing. And this is a 140-pound watercolor paper, not 100% cotton, okay? Because we're just doing exploration in here. And what I like about this is by US Art Supply. And what I like about these is that you get 3 of these notebooks in a pack. And I think they're 30 sheets. Yep, 30 sheets each. But the interesting thing is you can work on both sides of the paper. One side has a texture. I don't know if you can see that. This is textured. And the other side, y'all, is smooth. So the smooth side acts like a hot press paper. Hot press watercolor paper is smooth, and cold press watercolor paper has texture. So these are an amazing value for, getting a set of 3. And then you can see here, like I do different kind of testing on it. I think the next one is some color mixing, right? You can make your notes on there so you know what brand you're working with and what combinations you're working with. And so these are excellent, very well priced to do this kind of experimentation in and have a record of it all in one place instead of having sheets everywhere, right? Ah, now that is the smaller sheets. And then, of course, you can go up to, I think the watercolor sheets, they make up to like 30 by 45 or something like that. I do have a couple of other brands of paper here. Let me show you real quick of watercolor paper. My favorite workhorse in the studio that I use all the time, and if you've been with me before, you've seen it, is the Canson XL watercolor paper, 140 pounds. This is paper like tree pulp, okay, not 100% cotton. Excellent workhorse paper. It's cold press, but it's a very light cold press. That means there's a little bit of texture to it, but it's not smooth like hot press, but it's a light texture, which is awesome. And then here we go with Fumui again. So Fumui right here. And this is their watercolor paper, cold pressed. So this one has a little bit, slightly more texture. on here. Okay. And it comes in different forms. It comes in a little spiral notebook, or this is a block. So you see here, it says it's a paper block, and that means there's glue on the sides here. So these can be great if you're working on a painting and you don't want the paper buckling and you plan to use a lot of water because it's taped or it's got glue on the sides, and you open it here at the top. So where it says open right here, there's a little bit here with no glue on it. And you just slide a palette knife, or they also have something called a block leaf, and you slide that in there and you take the sheet off. So that's Famui, excellent paper, 100% cotton. So when you, after you've done your practice on some of these other papers and you're ready to produce your final artworks, then you might want to consider a 100% cotton paper. Okay. Um, and the last 100% cotton paper that I'm going to show you is the Soluvia. And they say that it's 140 pounds. Let me see, where is it? 140 pounds here, 100% cotton, and 30 sheets. Excellent value for what you're getting in this pack. I discovered this paper recently, but what you're going to find is it's a little, this is like the roughest of the three, okay, that I just showed you. So the Canson is a very light texture. Then you've got the Famui is like a medium cold texture. This is not a rough, but it is a rougher texture. So it just depends on what you like. Some people prefer the rougher texture because it gives you like really unusual granulation if you're using granulated watercolors. Okay. So definitely can recommend this. I enjoy this paper. It is not a block. So depending on how wet you plan to get it, you can do something called stretching your watercolor paper before you paint with it. You don't have to do that if you're using a block, but if you're using a pad like this, where it's loose, the pages are loose, you pull a page out, you soak it in a sink with water, so it's soaked on the front and back. Then you sponge off the front and back, and you leave it for a few minutes, and then you tape it down onto a board. I have these, oh, I put it back in the other room. I have these little carry boards for that. And so you can then paint on it and you won't get the curling or buckling if you've already stretched it, it's called. Okay. So that's what I would do with this if I were planning on doing a painting using a lot of water with washes and things. Okay. Um, and then I wanted to introduce you to this paper that I love. And I recommended it to a dear friend of mine. And she's like, oh, that paper is awesome for the price, right? Because we're always looking for a good price. So this is the Arteza, 32 pages, nine. This happens to be a 9 by 12, but it's a hardcover book. Look at this, y'all. It is awesome. And it's spiral bound. I just love it. Love it, love it, love it. It's 140 pound. It is not 100% cotton, but look, I'll show you. See that? What am I doing? I'm color swatching stuff, right? And then it, again, it keeps it all in one place because it's all spiral bound. But these spiral bound books have little perforations down the sides. So if you go, "Ooh, I love that artwork," you can easily take it out of the book. Let me see. And nice thick pages too with that 140 pound. So you see here, there's a little rose right there that I did. So if I like that, I could certainly take it right out of the book. But another great way to keep from having paper everywhere. And I actually was working with the luminous paints, and I started this wisteria last night in the book. Now, when it's done, if I like it for a piece to sell, I would just take it right out of here, or I could just stick this right on my scanner and then take a scan of it and then make prints. And those print inks are archival, where this paint, if If it stays in the notebook and it's closed like this and nobody, the sun doesn't get to it, the colors will stay bright. But if I put it in a frame in the window, it's going to all fade away, right? That's what I was trying to explain about these luminous colors. You do have to be careful about that. Now, there are a couple of books that we're going to use tonight for inspiration for the wildflowers. And one of them is this one called DIY Watercolor Flowers. Again, I'll have links to these in the description of the video on YouTube by Marie Boudon, right there, Marie Boudon, but DIY Watercolor Flowers. I've used this book before as inspiration for some of my other prior workshops. Love this book. What I really appreciate about this book is you see how simple some of these designs are. Y'all, anybody can do it. Even kids can do it. Okay. So she breaks it down, but it's super, super like wishy-washy, simple. I mean, you talk about using this bloom brush. This is a great book for this brush right here. And then the other book that I'll be using as inspiration is this one, Wildflower Watercolors. Love this book. Oh my gosh, I'm in this book all the time. You see that, so it's a little more defined, a little more complicated. Is these flowers right here, right? Uh, Fabulous book. Now, Shushma Hedge is the author of this one, and it's just wow. I just love the way she gives you right? Samples like this. And then, so this is the possibility of what you can do with the flowers. She's going to show you the wildflowers. She's going to show you how to paint here like this, right? Just fabulous, fabulous, indispensable. You can see I have tabs in there. The books that I really use a lot, they'll have lots of tabs in them, right? Okay, so that's all I needed to explain. And we're going to go up over top of the table and actually get to painting. I'm going to move my UV spray, but let me just hold it there for a moment so that, again, if you want to take a picture of it, that is the Krylon. I love the Krylon sprays. I use the lots of different ones for my artworks. They call it the Gallery Series UV Archival Varnish, and this happens to be the gloss. Another thing I love about this is that you can use it on oil pastels. So it says right here, protects acrylic, watercolor, oil pastel, colored pencil, and oil paint. Ah, phenomenal stuff. Love it, love it, love it. Let me find a place for that. That's out of the way. Okay, cool. So we're going to start by doing some color mixing. So you can see that even though these are super bright colors right here, and they're beautiful on their own, I'm going to show you how you can mix the colors. Okay. Um, I just love these. I'm going to set those aside for a moment. And let's see here. So I wrote on there so I would know what it is that I'm working with. Holbein Luminous Watercolor. Here, I'm just going to move these out of the way for the moment. That's the Van Gogh. We'll move those off to the side. And so I've already squeezed out a few of the colors in here. I was like, oh my gosh, I need more space, right? Because I like having a lot of space. Okay, so this actually has, even though this is a cheap plastic one, it has more wells. But when you have a plastic one like this, what you're going to find is oftentimes when you use bright colors like these, it will stain. There's even a little bit of stain left in here. But let me see if I still have, yes, you can use a magic sponge. You see the paint colors that are on there? You can use a magic sponge on these, and that will take most of that color off. So whether it's acrylic, whether it's oil paint, whether it's watercolor, that's something that I've found works extremely well either on your plastic palettes, because it's the plastic palettes that tend to get stained, right? These ceramic ones, people use the ceramic ones because they don't stain. You can just wash all the color out and it won't matter. But with the plastic ones, yeah, they stain, and so you want to get out your magic sponge and make that. You can get the majority of the stain out, which is what I did with this one because there were staining colors inside here. So right now, what I have in here is this luminous green. I have the luminous blue. I have the luminous violet. Ooh, let's see, luminous opera. So this is luminous opera right here. And then I have, let's see, one, two, three more. So this is luminous red. No, yes, luminous red right here. Okay. Luminous orange right here. And what they call luminous yellow in the middle. Okay. So that's how those colors are right now in there. Um, there are a couple more that are here. This is an orange red. I feel like the orange red and the orange are very close to each other right here. So that's why I just picked the lighter one there. And I have not used the luminous blue violet right here, but that's a nice dark color. Why don't I get that out and we'll see if we can mix some browns with that because it's a violet, it's a dark violet, and maybe we can get some nice brown if we need it. Like for instance, for the top of the cone flower needs a brown, right? So one of the, well, there are two different ones here. This is, no, that's magenta. Okay. This luminous pink, y'all, man, you talk about bright. The luminous pink is super bright. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. Let's take some of the blue violet right here. And Holbein watercolors, by the way, if you don't know, they are made in Japan and they are excellent watercolors. Oh my gosh, I love them. Okay, so I'm going to take this synthetic squirrel because I like the spring in the synthetic squirrel for when you're mixing colors. I find that helps. But this is a sable. It still has nice spring. It's just a little different in the way that it works. So I'm going to right now use this synthetic squirrel hair. Oh, let me get a paper towel for my hands. And we're going to mix that. So if I mix violet and yellow, I'm going to get a brown. So you know what? I'm going to start these off by spraying them because they're dry from being set aside. So let's get some of that yellow. And it looks like if you put it into a pan, like squeeze it into a half pan, it looks like it would crack because it's just they don't operate exactly the same way that a your regular watercolor would. So let's take some of this and put it in here, and I'm going to mix it with a little bit of the blue violet, okay, and see if we can get a nice brown. So this is what they call their luminous yellow, which has a nice warm look to it, and get just a little bit of that purpley blue. Huh. Okay, so it's just turning gray at the moment. I'll show you. See, that's why I have little notebooks like this sitting around so that I can test it. Welcome in, everybody over on Whatnot and YouTube. Thanks for joining in. Let's get a little bit more of this. I might just take this piece and stick it in there and mix it around and see what happens. So I'm trying to create a brown and it keeps wanting to go gray. Okay, but I did mix a, yeah, it's beginning to turn brown now. Just a little bit. Let's use the tube. I think it'll be easier if I use the tube. Bloop. If it's fresh, these, I suggest that you use these fresh, okay? Because like I said, they dry out and they sort of crack. And so I don't think you want that. Now, isn't that amazing? I'm going to bring this up to you so you can see what I'm talking about. You see how I'm beginning to get a brown right there? So that's your purples and your yellows together. They're opposite each other on the color wheel and they help you to make different types of brown. Now this is a little bit too ochery, so I'm going to just add just a little tiny bit of that purple back in there. And now we're getting something a little bit, just a little bit deeper. See there, a deeper ochre. And let's try, see, I think this one's a little bit better, the luminous violet. It's not quite as dark as that other one. So let's put just a touch of that one in there. These are 5 milliliter tubes, by the way. That's the size that they come in. Okay, now you're talking. Now we've got a darker brown. Okay, so it's just going to take some years of experience to understand like what color do I mix with what to get my browns. But in general, if you take a purple and a yellow and you mix them together, you'll get some sort of brown. So here we go. There's the brown. So it's important to know how to mix a brown because you're going to use that brown on the top of your cone flower, right? So a cone flower has a little cone on the top of it, hence the name cone flower. And then um, you take, you're going to have your leaves that come off of here to create the cone flower, right? Like something like that. But you need something brown right there. So I wanted to show you all how to mix brown. And then let's take a look at, we need a green. So what I've been doing, a darker green. So what I've been doing, let me just add a little bit more of the stuff right from the tube here. So it's a little easier to work with. This is the luminous green and this is the luminous blue right here. The others will, the stuff that's dry will begin to rehydrate as it sits there for a few. Ooh, I'm loving that brown. Okay. So this brown is the yellow and this violet and then a little bit of the blue violet. Okay, gives you that nice brown. So normally as I'm doing this in my studio, I'm writing notes all over it, you know, so that I know what combinations of colors I was putting together. Um, so let's take a little bit of the green because this green is quite light. You see how bright it is? It's what I would call a spring green. So what I was doing before is adding a little bit of this blue to it and darkening it, but you see how it looks like an artificial green right there? I'll show you. When I put that luminous blue with the luminous green, I get this kind of artificial almost looking green. So if I want to get a green that's a little earthier, I can add a little bit of the yellow in there. And now I'm beginning to get an earthier green right here. Okay, a little bit earthier, but like no punch to it, right? So what I would do is use some of this green and then add a little bit of this blue violet because it is mostly blue. Now I've got a really dark color. And then let's throw in a little bit of that yellow and see what happens. Now I've got a foresty green. I'll put some right here so you can see. So now I've got a super dark green. You see there? So it is, to me, it's important when when you're doing watercolor, especially if you don't want to have, you know, the 200 colors that are in the range of a particular company's watercolors. It helps to know how to mix the color that you're looking for. And even in a range like this, I'm glad that they have a darker color. This is the darkest color that's in the range is this blue violet. So you may be needing that blue violet in order to be able to mix some of your darker colors. the darker browns and the darker greens, especially if you're doing flowers like we are. Okay, so that's this together with the other ones will give you this dark green and it'll give you this darker brown right here. So when I'm painting flowers, that's something that I want to be sure that I have. Now, let me show you over here while I have it. This is the Van Gogh, and this is their sap green. And the nice thing is I can just stick my brush in there. I don't have to work so hard, and I have a beautiful green right there, right? Me, this one right here, that sap green. So that's why I said, you know what? Just to make it quicker for myself when I'm painting, if I have this with me, then I've got a quickie sap green there that I can even mix together with some of these other ones in order to get nice green combinations. Wow, that one is gorgeous. And so it just makes my job quicker if I'm going to be doing florals. All right, so that was where I just mixed it in with whatever was inside there. And now I have a little bit darker green. All right, so that's why I suggested that it can be handy to have a good green. There are two really good greens for landscapey stuff. That's the sap green or the hooker's green, it's called. So what I happen to have in this set is the sap green right there. And if you find a set like this is again Van Gogh by Royal Talons, you can buy individual tubes, just like the individual tubes here. You can buy individual tubes of these colors. So you can see that my sap green is getting worn down when I'm at the bottom of the little what they call a pan here. And this set, it's really cool. This is their travel brush that comes in the set right here. Ta-da. Now this doesn't hold a lot of water, so I find I prefer to use either the synthetic squirrel or these sable hair brushes. But the neat thing about their little brush is there's a little hook on the back end of it here, and that's what you use to take out the pan. Here, come on. It's not wanting to come out. That's interesting. Okay, I must have lots of paint down in there, but normally you can just pop these out. Huh, I've been using them so much. Here's one that's just popping out. There you go. So you can just pop the pan out like that and then replace it. So I have a couple of pans on order right now of different colors. But when I get done with the paint that's in here, I have that same paint in a tube and I'm just going to squeeze it back in there. And then that way I can continue going with this travel set here. Okay, so now you have an idea of mixing some of the browns and some of the greens. And this actually gave us a really nice sort of shadowy type color too, if you wanted to use shadows. So let me go ahead and get one of the, let's start with one of the bigger pads. I'm just going to show you how the Blossoms brush works. So this was the Canson XL watercolor paper, 140 pounds. This is the 9 by 12 size. This is my favorite size because it fits easily into an 11 by 14 mat. So I like that. And I'm just going to move some of this out of the way. And so let me show you how this works. Let's get some more, do more of this opera pink. I just love the opera pink. I don't know. I love all these colors. So what can I tell you? Let's spray it just a little bit. Eek. Keep these other ones moist so they'll start to get more liquid. Okay, so I have more pink in here. Now, this is bone dry because I used it yesterday, but I cleaned it and dried it. So before I start to use it, I put it in clean water, like it is, just so that the bristles can be nice and soaking. Okay, nice and wet, like that. And then it's ready. And then I'm going to pick up some of the paint. And the Princeton Brush on YouTube, they have a YouTube channel, and you can actually see Jenna Rainey talking about um, developing this brush together with Princeton, and then she shows you how she uses it. So here, it's designed to make your petals. You can either do it just like this, and now I'm twisting it, okay? So you can easily just do this real quick like, and create your petals this way, okay? Let's say this is a 6-petal flower, for instance, so you can just do it like that. Or what I like to do is I like to use it a little bit on its side, so I'm not using it flat. I like to use it a little bit on its side, although for the very center of what you're doing, you can use it like this. So that was flat, and then you start turning it to the side. So the more you turn it to the side, of course, the thinner the petal is going to be, right? So I'm holding it on its side and bringing it up. Oh, it's such a beautiful brush, y'all. Compared to just a round or a flat, because it has this nice, just a slight roundness. You see the slight roundness to the top there? And then let's just do this. So I'm going to, and then I'm going to put a petal back behind here and another petal back behind here. So it makes it really easy to build up your flowers, right? That's why she designed it like that. All right. So yay, easy peasy. Thank you, Jenna Rainey. And so you can just real quick, like get your flowers going there like that. Okay. So I would call that probably a peony of some sort. Um, but it just having this brush makes it super simple. The funny thing is, do you see how I'm holding it like way down here and I've got all this up here? So if you want to teach yourself to loosen up when you're painting, because these are a little tight, I would call them tight. They're not loose. You want to come back here, back further on your brush. And then that way you're further away from it. And you're going to find that your marks are a little bit different. So I'm not holding it like this up close. I'm holding it like this back behind. So let's do some fluffy petals here. So you can already see that this is getting just a little bit looser, right? And so that's one technique for loosening up. If you're like, man, like I'm too tight, my flowers are too tight. All right, here you go. Just hold it back here a little bit further and sort of work with your whole shoulder instead of choking up on it like this and being tight. Okay. So if I'm back here, my flowers can be just a little more fluffy. Let's do this and up here like this, maybe. Oh, nice. I like it. And let's just do that. So maybe let's try a different color. What the heck? I mean, the colors are pretty much close to each other, but let's grab some of this electric orange right here. Beautiful. And maybe we'll try a little rose using this brush. So with the rose, you usually do a little C in the center. Sort of, remember how I said use it on the side if you want, oh, you're in Wisconsin. Buried in snow last night. Oh my gosh. That's crazy, right? Okay, so to do the rose, I'm sort of bringing it around. Now, see how I choked up on it? 21 inches. Holy kashmoli, y'all. What the heck? So now I'm bringing it around and I'm wiggling it to get the rose petals. Here, wiggle, wiggle. Okay, and so these are not your, not realism, because I am not a realist. Plus, this only, hey, dangerous manatee. I wonder if you're in Florida where I am. I'm near, I am in the area near St. Pete. Okay, this again is the luminous orange. And so that's the beginning of a rose. And then I can take other colors here. What I also like about this size 12 is it encourages you to work larger. And so some people might not be comfortable with that, but it's something that um, I think is a good thing to do to start out. You can always choke up and do little detail stuff later. Um, so I've got this brilliant orange going right there. And now I just mixed the orange with a couple of other colors on my brush. And I'm just going to come in here and drop in some of the other colors as this is beginning to dry. So we just get a little extra depth in there. There we go. And build it up. Now, like I mentioned, if you're working from the dry paint, it's not coming out as dark as when I squeezed it out of a tube, and then you get a lot more concentrated colors. Okay, so again, that is the Princeton Velvet Touch Blossoms brush, and it only comes in this size 12. Now, I'm going to show you what I was painting with this brush yesterday, and that is I was working on some wisteria. So let me move that out of the way there. Make sure I can see the paint. I was working on some wisteria. So I go to Pixabay to get my imagery. And so you can see a whole bunch of images of wisteria here up close and far away. And then this is what I was creating here. And I was using this blossoms brush to make these petals for the wisteria. Yay. But let's go to, I want to do some wildflowers. Let's do some wildflowers. And so wildflowers are a little different. And I'm just looking for which paper I want to use for the wildflowers. I think I will go back to this one right here. So this again is the Canson XL. I'll play around with these again later. I love how this one came out right here. I would call that a peony. And you know, this also will make the leaves really well. So let's get a little bit of green for leaves and I'll show you real quick. So for the peony, the leaves have a little bit of, they're kind of a little bit wavy. So you see there, now you can really easily do this with this brush. There's a leaf real quick like that because of the nature of the rounded edges of this blossoms brush lets you create these little scallops on the edges like that. If you had a filbert brush, which has kind of a rounded top, you could do the same thing. Okay, so let's go to a fresh sheet right here. Hee. All right, and I'm just getting everything organized. Let me move these other artworks out of the way so they don't get paint on them because I have a tendency to splatter paint everywhere as I'm working. All right. Now, what I've done, again, I went to Pixabay and I came up with some imagery of some wildflowers. So let me get those out of here. Just to give me, I use Pixabay a lot. As you can see, bleeding hearts we've done before. Iris I got off of there that I've done before. So lots of inspiration off of Pixabay. And here is the inspiration photos that I pulled off of Pixabay. And I love the clover. Clover is so much fun to paint. Um, you know, like, and the leaves are the 3-leaf or the 4-leaf clover, so you can throw a 4-leaf clover in there if you want to. I think these are called cosmos. Um, just some really cute stuff. And these are my inspirations, so they give me an idea kind of what direction to go in. Now, like I said, this book, Wildflower Watercolor, if you weren't here earlier, is my favorite book for how to paint various types of wildflowers. See how they have the different ones here, and then they show you step by step. This is one of my favorite ones. What is it? Lavender, right? That's one of my favorite ones to do. So let's start with a stick of lavender. I'm going to put the book next to me here. I mean, I know how to do it, but here we go. I'm going to take this cover and put that away. All right. So I use this to get an idea for colors and variety and leaves and all of the little grasses in the background. Hey there, Team Mastej. Welcome in. Welcome in. So I'm going to start with the purple of the lavender. So I'm actually going to switch to, this is the Famui synthetic squirrel hair, because that'll give me the right little movement, the little marks that I need to make in order to create the lavender. So here we're going to start out with that beautiful luminous violet. Love this color. And if you see, the shape of the brush is perfect for making lavender. So lavender is a little spike, and you're just going to start, I'm just pressing, press, 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 press. Super easy like this, right? It doesn't have to be hard and complicated. It's just, it helps to have the right brushes, because the right brushes definitely will help you to be able to make the right shapes just by, in this case, just by tapping. So we're just tapping little, little, little here. And I'm going to sort of curve it just a little bit over this way, just because. Down toward the bottom, it gets a little bit wider with smaller little, because they haven't quite fully bloomed yet, right? A little bit smaller tops to the flowers. So that just means I'm not pushing as hard. I'm doing a little bit more. I would visit with my children and my husband. I would visit France because his father and stepmother lived in France, and there were always lavender everywhere. They had lavender in their garden, all along the roadsides. Oh my gosh, the air smelled amazing, and it was just a magical time. Now, if you want to, remember I said that we've got, this is the darkest one, Luminous Blue Violet from Holbein, and I put a tiny bit of it in here. So while this is still a little bit wet, I can just take a damp tip like this and then just drop that near the bottom of some of these to give them a little bit more, not wet enough. Let's get more wetness there. Not wet enough. If you want to add a little more dimension, you just put a drop of the darker color down at the bottom. Because of course, the closer into the middle it is, the darker it's going to be, right? Just a tiny bit of that dark. There we go. So that helps to give your plant just that little bit more dimension. And it helps to have a brush that has a nice snappy tip. That's why I was saying the synthetic squirrel hair is really nice for that, because it's not, since it's synthetic, it springs back really well. And where a natural squirrel hair, which I have some of those too, is it holds just a lot more water. And so, and it's a lot squishier when you push down. You don't get the spring in order to create little bits like this right here. Fabulous. Um, I don't know why they call it a wildflower. I guess because in France it grows wild. There's so much of it. Yes, they have the cultivated, but they also, oh my gosh, there's so much of it everywhere. Okay, awesome. Now there's a big blob right here where I made a bit that was a little bit too big. So what I'm actually doing is picking up a little bit of that so that there's some light. It made it a little bit lighter so it doesn't draw your eye too much to that big blobby spot right there. Okay, so I'm just going to put the dark aside and let's create another one. So again, into that luminous violet. If you have some other sort of color, you know, it absolutely does not matter what color you use. Make it red if that's what you have, okay? I'm just showing you the technique, like the way that I would bounce my brush. So I'm going to start it a little bit higher over here. Maybe I'll just do it almost straight down like this with just a slight curve to it. So super easy to start it. Remember, there are going to be little bits. Easy to start, little bits. Don't forget the middle there. Okay, let's get a little more color on the brush. And you can just use the full length of the brush or just the tip of the brush in order to get your little flower shapes there. Fabulous. A little more purple, right? I keep loading up my brush. So as it comes down toward the bottom, it's a little bit wider. But let's keep going with this one. A little bit more. There we go. And right near where the stem enters it, I find it narrows just a tiny bit. Okay, like that. And what am I going to do? You see the difference between this one where I put the little bit of dark and this one where it's all light? So that little bit of dark just adds the drama. Adds the drama. So if oftentimes that will really help zhuzh up what you're working on is if you just put a little bit darker color at the base, because oftentimes whatever it is that you're painting, if it's near the base of something, especially a flower, in that center or the bottom area is where you're going to have a little bit of shadow, right? And that'll just help to give it that much more dimension. Here we go. Oh, see, isn't that crazy? You might not be able to hear it, but it's thundering out. And like half of the sky here is gray, and half of the sky over there is it's clouds and blue sky. But it's rumbling, rumble, rumble, rumble outside. It's crazy. It's our weather here right now is very bipolar, right? I've heard a lot of people say that. They're like, the weather's bipolar. It's 80. I was watching a guy yesterday. He's like, it was 60s and 70s yesterday, and last, he's like, look, it's snowing right now. Yeah, we're a little crazy right now, especially too with the daylight savings. I'm like, I'm still off from that. Okay, so right now there's two colors on each of those. You've got the lighter violet and then the darker violet at the base of the little flowers, and it just gives it that much more. Love that. Okay, so let me show you in the book again, wildflower watercolor. And here you go. This is the lavender. And it's so easy to do these little spikes. And then boop, there you go. Let's see if she has more on the other page. Plus, she talks you through everything, every single step. So you don't just have the pictures, you have these really nice explanations. So I love this book. Highly recommend it. So you can see she's not only bringing the green up here, she's putting little dots of green inside because these are all individual little flowers off of a central stem. But I'm going to let it dry a little bit before I try to put the green inside here. Otherwise, it's just going to go bleh and mix in with all of the purple. So we're going to wait on that. All right. There's another flower that I just adore from here. Let me see if I put a tab on it. Well, the cone flower, we're definitely going to do some cone flowers because I love those. Oh, okay. Where is that other one that I like a lot? Not that one. Come on. It's it's actually on the cover of the book as well. It's like a red. Okay, let's see where you are. Where are you? There are so many in here. You really get your money's worth, y'all. Oh my goodness. Dandelions, chicory. Huh. I don't think I've ever seen chicory. Oh, violets. Love violets. Roses, little tea roses. Okay, come on, you can do it. There it is. There it is. What is this called? Indian paintbrush, it's called. You see that right there? Is that beautiful? It's just so beautiful. So let's do this one. It's similar to what we were doing here with the lavender, except that we're creating a little bit bigger shape than just these little tiny florets. So um, I'm actually going to use the blossoms for this one, the blossoms brush. And I want to put a little bit of the, where is it? Do I have the red here? Luminous red, right? Luminous red. Okay. Let's do it with luminous red. That's this color right here. And so what we're doing tonight is we're working with the luminous colors from Holbein, and they are dye based, so they will fade very quickly. They're more for illustration purposes. So I would take this illustration and I would scan it, and then I would make prints similar to what I did here, making prints with the nice bright colors. Okay. Um, so I'm going to use the Blossoms brush for the, what is it? Indian paintbrush, I think it's called, right? Yep, Indian paintbrush. So we're going to start with the luminous red. Oh, that's so pretty. Actually, I'm going to mix a little bit of the, what do I want to mix in with it? I want it a little bit darker, y'all. Just a little bit darker. It's a little bit light. Let's use the light at the top. So I'm gonna put a paintbrush right. Nope. I'm gonna bring the paintbrush. Where do I want it? Where do I want it? Okay, I'll do it like right here. So see how I'm using it on its side? Looks neon pink. It is. Hey, Salmon's girl. Oh my gosh, so good to see you. We had so much fun this week. Salmon's girl, if you don't follow her, please make sure that you follow her. And we had an artist trade card train this week, and it was so much fun. Happy anniversary, by the way. I saw on social media it's your anniversary with your honey, and congratulations on that. Right? She said, I love that train. So Salmon's Girl, what I did was I created artist card editions from paintings that I did for this workshop. 23 years with the hubby, bless you. Oh my goodness. So for the workshop, I made some of these bright artworks using these colors. And then I created sheets, limited edition prints from them. So that's what we're giving away tonight. Stay home to shop already won one. And I was also introducing the Blooms brush from the Princeton Velvet Touch line. All right, so we're just sort of building. The nice thing is the way this brush is shaped, it's very easy to get the kind of shape that we need for the Indian paintbrush type of flower. So let's do another one over here and sort of two little bits together over here. Another one like this. And this is the luminous red. So it's quite bright. If I wanted to, I could add some orange, or actually I could use a little bit of the orange red with it. So this is the orange red. Let me just put the orange red in here. Yes, there wasn't enough room with the 7 colors in here. I had to grab another palette. Let's right to the brush. I'm going to get it a little bit wet. I'm going to add some of that orange red to the red. And let's see. I'm just following along with the book that I have over here and making the Indian paintbrush flowers using this blooms or blossoms brush. Okay, that's fun. Over here, she has some, this one actually sticks out just a little bit further like that. Let's make this one like have 2. There we go. And then there are little ones sort of in the background here. And another one that sort of comes around like this. Another one that sort of sticks out this way like that. So the nice thing about the Indian paintbrush is it's more or less straight up. If it has a curve, it's just a very slight curve. So it makes it a lot easier to work with this. I added a little bit more at the top because I felt like where it was too much in line with the lavender here. And I'm like, no, 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 it needs to go up just a little bit higher, just a little higher. Okay, I'm looking at the book that I have here, the wildflower book. And in order to get sort of a feel for what it is that we're painting here. All right, and then another little one here. And the rest is going to be green. Okay, green coming down. We have to let these dry a little bit before we get into the green. But whoa, woo! I feel like I need to bring it up just a little bit more. There. Yee. And this actually has, it's actually a little bit wider toward the top. And then it starts to thin out as it gets lower. So that is the Indian paintbrush right there so far. This is what it looks like here in the book. And there's an example of her painting it with a whole bunch of other wildflowers. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Okay. Um, let me think of what other one. We need to use that yellow. So let me get the green out of there because I used the yellow to make a green, right? So now you can combine these colors together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bright yellow, which is the lemon yellow, and I'm going to mix it with some of the luminous yellow because the luminous yellow is a little bit more, I don't know, it tends a little bit toward the orange. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to show you when I bring it up what I mean by it tends toward the orange. So this one that looks orange is what they call yellow. And then this one over here is the lemon yellow. You see there? And I'm like, their regular yellow looks quite orange to me. Um, so I'm going to mix the two together and that will give me a medium. Let's see what other kind of really fun yellow, there's another spike. We need something other than a spike. Ooh, ooh. Let's see here. But something yellow, something yellow. Is this yarrow? No, the white is yarrow. Ladies, bed straw. Huh. Okay, I want something a little bit. Oh, the cornflowers. The cornflowers are, oh, you know what's cool is the cornflowers are super dark, right? See, they're a super dark purple, purple blue. So let's use that dark blue violet that they have in the set. So this is the luminous blue violet. let's use that color and make some of the cornflowers. So I'm just going to put, I was explaining earlier that when these dry, they turn a little chalky and and they crack. So I find it's easier with these luminous watercolors. And here's what they look like in the box, okay? Or here's what the box looks like. It's the Holbein Watercolor Luminous Colors. All right. But this one is very dark. It's the blue violet. So let's make some of those cornflowers out of the blue violet. All right. So which brush am I? I think I'll try using the, this is the Famui Detail Brush, #1, because the cornflowers are just a bunch of little marks. Let me show you. Again, cornflowers, and there's what they look like. And this is Wildflower Watercolor. Love this book. So let's put some of those in here, and we're going to use that dark, dark, dark. So it's going to be darker than this over here. And so I'm just going to pick that up with this detail brush. I picked one of the longer detail brushes. Famui has short little, like where you're just going to put little specks on something. And then they have detail brushes that are a little bit longer. Do you see how the head of that is a little bit longer, the bristles? And so if I want to do little lines, I prefer this little bit longer one because it gives me a little more paint in there. Um, okay, so where do we want to put these? Actually, I just got a little bit of that blue. Do you see that little speck right there? So we're going to turn that into a cornflower. Oh, yeah. So the cornflower is just little marks. That's one of the reasons I love the the wildflowers is because usually they're just super simple to paint. So we're just going to do a little bit more down here. And yeah, this color is perfect for that. So there's the head of one of the cornflowers. Easy peasy. Let's just make a couple more. Let's see where they are here. And all right, where else do we want to put a cornflower? We'll put one maybe facing sort of over this way right here. So here's the sort of the center of it. And I want to have it so it goes sort of radiates out from the center head. We want this one to come this way. Oh, maybe a little bit further. Yeah, there we go. That's fun. There we are. A little bit more. Where else do we want one? I'm going to add a little bit more water to get something that's not quite so dark as that. So let's put another one up here somewhere. So this one's a little bit more mature. Mature, let's see. And oop. And the nice thing about the cornflower is it's kind of long. There we go. So we'll just fill that in right there. And each person, your stroke's going to look different from the author's strokes. It's so funny. We're all so individual, aren't we? So there's what they're looking like, the little cornflowers. Nice. Now let's do the base of the cornflower. There is a green, and it's neat. I like it. Okay, so this is the green. Let's add a little bit more of the luminous green like this. And then what I do to make it a little bit darker is I add a little bit of the blue in with it. So we're going to take some of the blue in there. That gives us a little bit darker green. And then I'm going to take that luminous, the same color we just used. So that's the blue violet. And then that's going to darken the color up for us just a little bit, because thankfully we have that nice dark color in here. This one, the blue violet, so we can darken our other colors. Okay, so now we're basically creating a little thing that goes like this. And we're just going to put little dots in there. That's why it's helpful to have the this detail brush for this. Okay. This one's going to come out sort of around this way. Just putting dots, dot, 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 for the base of it. There we go. And another one right here. Oh, this one's so cute. All right, cool. Easy peasy to create these little cornflowers. All right, let's see where we take the stems of the cornflowers. The interesting thing that she shows, looking good so far. Thank you, Salmon's girl. Appreciate it. So you see how the stems of the cornflowers are not straight. She doesn't have them like some flowers stand stick straight with a nice stiff stem, but it looks like these are not that stiff. So let me go ahead, grab just a little bit more paint. And so we can, instead of holding it like a pencil, I'm going to change my grip. So I'm going to hold it like an Asian brush in between my thumb and these two fingers, or in this case, three fingers, so that, and sort of loosen up my wrists a little bit. Okay. So that when I loosen up my wrists and I'm doing this, I can sort of, it's a little different feel when you're going down. You're less likely, if you do use a pencil grip, you're more likely to try to do something straight with your arm and your wrist. But if you hold it like this, Salmon's girl says I have a little one watching too. I think I know who that little one is. And it's all, you know what, Salmon's girl, it's almost Easter. And I have the little cutout bunnies that I bought from you on my dining table, waiting to hang them up on my orchid or whatever flower or plant I have. Oh my gosh, Team Mestage said they have a little one there watching as well. Awesome. Well, I'm sure the kids are loving these bright colors, right? I know I love the bright colors. Oh my goodness. But I'm actually turning the brush a little bit as I'm going down, and that's giving me, oh, she said, yay, yes, yes, ma'am. I love them. I thought they were so dang cute. So I'm actually turning my brush a little bit as I come down, and you see the uneven, very organic lines that it gives instead of a like a very straight line, right? Isn't that awesome? That's just awesome. Love that. Okay, there we go. Same thing. So I'm sort of almost bouncing up and down, turning, twisting, and you get those really wild looking stems. Love that. Okay. So that's a trick where you can turn these as you're working with them, and then you'll get these more organic lines. Now I'm seeing that one of the things that this author showed, and I want to create a couple, is little buds that go with these cornflowers. So before they pop out and they have all these little petals, these little spiky petals, they are just like these little ones. A little bit of purple here, a little bit of green here. So let's use this small synthetic squirrel brush and pick up some more of that dark purple right here, which is the blue violet. And let's make a couple of little buds. Why not? Right? We'll throw a little bud right over here. So the bud is just a little bit. Actually, I can see this is too big. I was using before, but I have green on this right now, so that's okay. I'll just keep using this for the little buds. I just keep using it for the bud. I'll get over it. So that's just a little bud right there. And then we're going to come over here somewhere. And we're going to put a little bud over here as well. Maybe I'll put the little bud. I'll put the little bud going this way. Kind of just sort of going right in here. Right? So we just have little little buds growing. Nice, nice. Well, thanks for hanging out with me on your Sunday. I appreciate you being here. And let's see. Okay. So we've got those little cornflowers and the cornflower buds going. Uh, so let's jump back to that detail brush so we can put the stems on. So, because see, I've still got a lot of green in there, so I didn't want to lose my green. So we're just going to make, instead of this size for the base, we're going to make a base similar in shape, but just a little bit smaller. And I don't want too much of it to run into the other color. Just little dabs. Dab, 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 dab. Awesome. And then I'm gonna hold it this way. Thank you, Salmon's girl. She said, "You're such a good painter." Thank you. Well, I have a lot of books, Salmon's Girl, and I spent a lot of years in school. Okay, so holding it like an Asian brush, right? These three fingers here between the thumb, index finger, and middle finger, and then I'm resting it on this finger right here, the ring finger, so that I can use my hand straight up and down like this and get that more organic type of look to it. Awesome. Okay, let's do this one over here. Come here, you. Let's bring it down and maybe it matches in with that one. Okay, so much fun. So much fun. I'm looking at what kind of leaves these have. Now, this is where I was saying before that I'm going to need to dip in to a regular set of watercolor because you see how like intense that green is. It's beautiful, but I need something that little bit darker. I could just pull more purple here. I could pull more of the purple in with the green, but when I do that, it starts to get gray. Can you see that? Because it's actually a violet. You see how that's looking like a almost a gray sort of violet, a gray sort of green. And so I need something that's more punchy green. So this is my Van Gogh watercolors, and I have the Sap Green right here. So I'm going to grab a little bit of the traditional or regular Sap Green watercolor, and I'm going to mix that in with this like gray one that we created. And you see how you get a nice sort of mid-tone green right there. Okay. If it's a little too dark, if I need it to be a little closer to what you see here, then I'm going to grab a little bit more of that light green that I had made there. Okay, now we're talking. So it's just a little bit darker than these leaves or these stems right here. And okay, I can't use this brush for the leaves because it's too small. This is my detail brush. So let me get the paint off of there, set it aside. And what am I going to use? So this is what size brush is that? Oh, this one, the detail brush. This is from a detail brush set by Fumui, Fummui. I don't know if you can see the name right there. Fumui. And it's a whole set of 11 different detail brushes. This is the size one um, that goes with that. This one is the synthetic. This is the Fumui, again, Fummui. This is the synthetic squirrel, and this is a size 2. And then the one that I'm going to use now for the leaves is a Fumui sable hair. So it's a little bit different hair, and it's a size 4. Yeah. Okay. So now I just dipped it in the water. So I've got water in the hairs, and then I'm going to pick up some of this green. I want to be sure I have plenty of water because I just want a wishy-washy leaf. Okay. And I'm using the sable hair brush because it spreads a little bit more. This synthetic squirrel is more for giving me the line that I want. But this brush that is the sable hair spreads a little bit more. And since I'm doing leaves, I want that spready spread. Okay. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to press down, start the leaf, and then press down so I get nice. That's the kind of leaf I'm looking for. Right there. Hello, hello, Ernie. Welcome in, welcome in. I'm doing an art lesson right now on Whatnot and YouTube, and it is using the luminous watercolors from Holbein. So they're super super neon type colors. Okay, I decided it's a little bit dark. I need to add a little bit more of the luminous colors to it and a little bit more water so it'll flow off the brush. Nice. So again, I'm just going to set it down and then press and sort of wiggle and then come back up. All right. And then now, one of the things it also does is the leaves come like this, and then they also sort of just come down like that. So there's another one, and then this one can come along here. So I'm starting with the tip and then pressing down and jiggling so I get a leaf and then lifting up as I get to the stem, right? Ah, oh, now mine doesn't look that great. Stop. Uh, you see, that's why I have all these different brushes. It's like, in the beginning, I was like, why the heck would you need all these brushes, all those different brush types? That makes no sense at all, right? Until I started painting a lot more. And then I'm like, oh, that's why you need all those brushes. Okay, so let's do this one. Let's do a little one up here. So just a little tiny tip and then press and then jiggle and then have it meet the stem. There we go. Nice. So we've got some leaves going. I'm gonna, right here, this one has a little crook out that way, if you see right there. So I'm gonna put a leaf off, just a little leaf off to the side here because it's up near the top. So this leaf is not going to be as big as the leaves near the bottom. There we go. Nice. But there is gonna be a bigger leaf down here. So let me bring it starting from here. Press, jiggle a little bit, twist the brush, and bring it into the base. Okay, there we go. Yay. So we've got a few little leaves going on for that. I think I'll put one more down here. Maybe not. Maybe I'll wait. Maybe I'll wait. I can always add it again later, right? Now, what I want to do here is I want to take that detail brush, right, with the little tip to it. And I want to take this green right here that I was just doing the leaves with is a little bit darker than the green that I did the initial stems with. So I'm going to grab a little bit of that darker green and I'm just going to go make a few dots right up underneath where where those petals spread out. And that's just to give a little extra dimension to that base right there. I'm not putting it over the whole thing. I'm just putting it right around where there would be a shadow from those petals. Okay, here. Because the first ones that I put on there, the first green is very light. So I'm just bringing in a little bit of the little bit darker. Okay, cool. I'm always looking for where can I darken things to give it a little extra dimension, right? Okay, let's look now at I want to put some yellow flowers in here and then go back to doing more of the green. I just love because I think the yellow and purple are opposite each other on the color wheel. So because of that, they complement each other very nicely. And that's where earlier I showed you I put the yellow and the lemon in here. I'm going to mix the two together to get a kind of a not too light, not too dark. And that's where, okay, this is the kind that I want right here, where it actually has petals. Let's see what these are called. St. John's wort, they're called. Super cute wildflowers. If you weren't here earlier, this is the Wildflower watercolor book. I've used it before when I've done workshops. I just love it. Okay, so let's build some of these. What I like about these flowers, the St. John's wort, is that they're 5 petal flowers. So instead of being like little teeny tiny dots, which a lot of the flowers are, they actually have little rosette petals. So let's see, which brush do I want to, yeah, which brush am I using for that? Let's take the synthetic squirrel and let's mix those two yellows together. Oh yeah, there we go. That's what I wanted. Something that's not, that's a little more yellow and not so orange. Okay, St. John's wort. So let me move my other palette out of the way. I'm going to bring it down here. And you're just putting a couple of petals. There's a 5 petal right there. You also, up near the top of it, you've got just little buds. And so the bud doesn't have, just has one little rounded head to it like that. Like that. Okay. So this is one flower. This is a bud. And then they actually have often other little buds right around them. So their buds come in little groupings. Let's do another bud over here. Just one bud. Let's just make it one. And then I'm going to do some of the 5 petal flowers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll do some more. They kind of, what's nice about the St. John's wort is they have a center stem and then they have radiating. Oh, thanks for sharing the show, Salmon's Girl. I appreciate it. They have radiating branches off that center. So there'll be separate little clusters and things off of that radiating part. And let's do this over here. So that's one of the flowers there. And don't worry about having perfect symmetry, okay? You don't have to worry about, these are wildflowers, so you do not have to worry about that at all. Let's put one out here where I've got part of it under back behind here. Right? It's okay to put things behind things like that to show dimension in the artwork. Okay, so let me show you on this sample sheet over here what I'm looking at. So you've got, if you have a 5 petal flower, there's one way you can do it is the 5 petals all like this, right? So they're all basically facing forward. And then you have the center right in the center. Or you can do it facing off to the side. So the petals go like this, and that way the flower's looking that way. It's off to the side. So think about all the different ways that the flowers can be situated in order to not just paint, the 5 petals, 5 petals, 5 petals. Okay. And that's what I'm thinking of as I'm doing this and building these different petal shapes. Okay. So the interesting thing is as it gets deeper as well, they get a little bit wider. So you can actually bring the flowers out this way. So this one I'm going to have sort of facing up and out that way. And then another one. And then let's do a little bud off of here. And another one back in the back over here. 2, 3, 4. So it doesn't always have to be 5 petals. It can be less than 5 petals. This one, I want to be a little more defined. So that's fun with the yellow back behind there. That's a lot of fun. Let's bring, there's going to be one over here. A little bit of one. And then like that. Those are little buds. We'll do another 5 bit right here. 1, 2. Just imagine it's back behind there. Right? So you see how it's back behind there? Bah! Okay, let's see. Where else do we want it to be? Um, we'll do another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that there. Fun. Okay, so we've got some going on there. I want another, maybe another little one. Do I want some more yellow in there? No, you know what? I'm going to put a clover in over here somewhere. We'll do clover. So we'll just leave the yellow for right now. And now what I'm noticing about my composition, because when I do my paintings, as I'm painting it, I'm looking at composition. And what you can see right now is the composition is over this way on the page. It's not centered. There's going to be a lot of white space over here and not so much white space over here, but that's fine. It's just something for you to observe as you're doing it, okay? Because you may decide, oh my gosh, I need to pull something else over here. Maybe I can put one of my clover buds over here and put a clover bud over here, and maybe that'll bring the whole thing together. Okay, I'm always looking at stuff like that. Okay, we're going to use the detail brush again, and this time it's going to be for the clover. So clover is a pink. So where this was, this Indian paintbrush is supposed to be a red. Now we want a kind of more of a baby pink. So we have here the Luminous Opera, except I got some other colors in there. So let me pull some of that color out of there. I'm just going to use a damp paper towel. I put some of the violet in with the pink, and now I'm like, wait a minute. I just want it to be pink, y'all. Okay, so I'm going to put a little more color in there. That's the Luminous Opera. And actually, there are 2 pinks. There's Luminous Opera and then there's Luminous Pink. So let me show you the difference between the two right here. So here is Luminous Opera, which is a little bit deeper than Luminous Pink, right? I'm going to mix the two together because that's what I do. I'm like, but I don't want it to be, I want it to be right in between the two. Oh, well. Okay, so here we go. Here's the Luminous Pink. We're going to add to that. And nice. Now I think the two of them together will be perfect for what I want to do with the clover. So let me see if I can find the clover for you. Okay. Was it back this way? No, it's ahead this way in the book. Oh, there's so many beautiful, beautiful flowers in here. There's the red clover from her book, but I have clover in my garden, you know? So I'm like, okay, I can kind of figure out what it is from my memory as well, right? You know what I do, as a matter of fact, earlier today? Oh, Florida Glass Girl's here. Yay! Florida Glass Girl, we're playing with the Holbein Luminous paint colors. That's this set right here. And they are dye based, so they are not light fast. What I was saying is you do the artwork and then you scan it and then you make prints. Because the inks that they're going to print your prints from are going to be much more archival than these paints will. But look at how bright and beautiful they are, though. Oh, the colors are just yummy, yummy. Okay, so let's take that detail brush again, and we're going to make the they're just little cones, little cones. So we're going to come in here with the pink, and I'm mixing the luminous pink and luminous opera together, and we're just going to make, it's just a little dome with little dots like this. So let's put one right here, like a smaller one down here. So I'm just sort of starting from the top and making little marks. So it's very similar to the lavender, just little marks. So I'm using my detail brush, and you can make it as full as you want, meaning you can come back and put other little tiny dots in there to fill it in. But that is right. That's what the top, thank you, Florida Glass Girl. That's what the top of a clover looks like, right? It just has a little bit going on there. Actually, I'm feeling like the top is a little too symmetrical. I want to widen it up just a little bit. There we go. So there's one of my clover. Where else do I want a clover? And then the cool thing is we get to do the tri-leaf, the trifoil leaf, or if you want to, a 4-leaf clover, right? Yee-hee. Okay. So I think I'll put another one up here, another clover. So I'm using the detail brush, and I'm just making little marks. If you don't have a detail brush, just use a brush that has a nice snappy tip to it, and use that tip to just make little marks. And you want them going in like this toward the top. Yes, watercolor paint. Yes. It's they call it HWC, means Holbein watercolor color, or Holbein watercolor, HWC. Yes, yes, it's a watercolor. So there's another one of my little clovers. And you don't have to make it quite so dense. If you want to, you can make it really shaggy. They don't have to be so tight here. Okay, there you go. I think I want to do just a little bit more of this toward the top. There you go. Okay, let's make another one. Yee. So where else? Of course, we have to put a fluffy one over here. I think I'll put one right here. This is where I was saying you want to balance out your painting. So I can see there's like nothing over here in this area. So I have to put something there to balance out, counterbalance these. Now I can also put a cone flower up here if I want to kind of fill the space as well. All right, so let's put a couple more. And some of the real ones are a little bit, they're a little bit like as they get older, they start to get a little bit more sparse, and they start to spread out a little bit. So that's what I'm doing here. Is this is one that would have been a little bit older. Don't worry if there's white space in there, because we're going to put a little bit of green in there. Okay. Because the base of these petals actually has little green parts holding it in. Okay, so there's There's another one right there that's beginning to splay out, meaning that it's a little bit older. And then let's put another one. Let's put another young one down here. And I want to face it in this way. So I'm sort of putting the middle and then bringing them around like this. So I'm using the, if you weren't here earlier, I'm using a Famui detail brush. So there we go. And it needs to be like a little bit sort of splayed out at the bottom like that. And some of them actually go up a little bit higher. Okay, there we go. We've got a few going on there. Nice, nice. Okay, that's enough for now. I can always go back and add more, right? I can even go back and add more tomorrow. That's the beautiful thing about watercolor, isn't it? If you haven't set it with a fixative, then you can always go back in with the watercolor. Now I want to do a cone flower. I'm going to let those dry for a moment before I go in with green. I was saying earlier that I like the colors of the flower petals to dry before I come in with the green so I don't get a lot of bleed. But if you don't mind the bleed, or if you love the bleed, knock yourself out, do the green right away. Now I'm going to do a cone flower up in this area. And I had mentioned before that we needed to mix a brown. So I mixed a brown. If you missed the earlier part of the show and you want to go back and watch it, I save my shows. I'm live streaming also to YouTube. So I save my shows to YouTube. Let me do this for you. If you're not familiar, here's my YouTube channel right here. And you can go there. If you just type in Tristina, Tristina, and artist, you'll find me on YouTube. But I'll hold it here for just a moment if you want to take a picture of that. And I would encourage you also on my website to join my newsletter. I send out a weekly email telling you what the class is that's coming up on Sunday, as well as the article I write on my website for the class the week prior, um, if you want to join that. All right, so now let's go ahead and uh, get a brown going. So with the cone flower, which is the echinacea, it has the little cone at the top like that, and it's brown, right? So I actually created a brown by mixing some of the other colors together. Let me show you. I'm going to use the sable brush right now, the size 4. And so there are a couple of ways that you can get brown. Let's take an orange right here. And the opposite of orange on the color wheel is blue. And what we have right here is the blue violet. So let's try that and see what degree of brown we can get. Picking up the blue violet, mixing it in there. Ah, there we go. We got a brown right away. Now, to me, this brown looks a little bit reddish. Let me show you. So it looks a little bit, it's a brown, but it tends a little bit toward red. So I want to add just a tiny bit more of that blue in there and see if I can get it a little bit darker. Yep. Okay, now it's a little bit darker. Nice. If I wanted it to be a little browner, I would just pick up a little bit of this yellow. There you go. Now it's getting a little bit browner. Okay, but if you know your color wheel, you can do yellow and purple, or you can do orange and blue, and you can get varying degrees of brown. Okay, and so let's go ahead then and create the cone for the cone flower up here. So I'm going to do the cone facing in this way, and it's just a little cone. It really is that simple. Now, what I'm doing here at the base of the cone, I'm not, I could just fill that in. right? I could make a little loop and just fill it in, but I'm adding a little bit of just dot, dot, dot. And then later I can go in and fill it in with a little bit of yellow or a little bit of darker color. Okay, so I'm giving myself options by leaving a little bit of white there. That's all you need for the cone. We're just going to put one cone flower in here for now. Okay, so to do the leaves for the cone flower, what color? What color? I want that orange. Orange. I want this orange. So I was saying earlier that when this dries, you see how it gets a little crackly? So I definitely suggest using the tubes and using the fresh paint with these luminous colors. Okay, so I'm going to give myself some fresh. And what I actually want to do is I want to lighten up that orange a little bit. So I'm going to dip into this yellow. I use the yellow a lot. There we go. So it's even brighter. There we go. So the orange is even brighter. And let's do the flowers. So the cone flower goes like this, right? So I'm putting it down, getting myself sort of a rounded bottom, and then bringing it up. And I want to lift it before I hit the cone, okay? So then I'm going to bring this one here. I might have a little one over here. So as I bring it into the center, I'm lifting my brush so that I can get that little tip there. I actually just turned it, like turning it as I lift it so I can get the angles going. And then I come up and I turn it and then I lift, and that way I can get that little tip right there toward the middle. Okay, I can see I need a little more water on the brush. It's coming up a little bit dry. Turn it and lift. Oh yeah. And then here, I'm going to put another one, and I just went over top of that purple just a little. Doesn't matter. It's okay. Here, I need to add a little bit more to that one. And then I'm going to bring this over here. Turning the brush and lifting, right? And then just a little bit right there. There's our cone flower, y'all. Cone flowers are so easy. And I can take a little bit of the yellow with it, and then I'm just going to drop that in here so that they'll sort of meet. And then I'm going to take my paper towel because I don't want it to be too orange. I just want it to sort of mingle with the brown that was in there. There you go. And I just picked up a little bit of it with my paper towel. But that way you get some interest going because you've got a little bit of the mixing of the colors together, right? Okay, woohoo! Now I think we need to do more of the stems. Not on this one yet because it's still too wet, right? We're gonna let that dry just a little bit. I love doing cone flowers. This is the one that I did in preparation for the workshop here. So you can see the two cone flowers right here. Isn't that fun? They're just so much fun to do. I love them. Okay, that's the echinacea is the cone flower, right? And okay, let's I think what I want to do first is I want to do the clover. Okay, we're going to start down here and then we'll move up here. And so for the clover, I'm using, oh boy, that orange is, whew, it is in that brush. All right, cool. Now it's mostly out. So this is, I was showing earlier, I've got the synthetic squirrel hair here, and then I've got a sable hair here. And the sable hair I like because it spreads more, especially when you're doing the leaves, okay? The sable hair will spread more. And this is a bigger one. This is a size 4, this is a size 8, and you can see how much the 8 splays out. So when I'm doing the leaves, I'll be using this 4 or 8 of the sable hair because it'll splay out a little bit more for me. Okay. So let's start with this one, which is um, the 4. And I just want to get, now I'm going to need to get some darker green. Let's start with the lighter green that we have in here for those. And what we want to do here, the one that's older where the little flowers are sort of splayed out, there's actually a lot of green inside here. So I'm just sort of using the tip of this to drop some green in there. As the petals start to spread like this, then it exposes some of that green there. And then there are little wisps of green off to the side over here also. They're almost like little tiny leaves. There you go, like that right there. And then, whoops, there my flowers are, pictures are falling. Okay, and then we'll just have a little stem that comes down like that. We'll get to the leaves after we do these little stems. All right, and then this one right here, I'm actually looking at a picture that I got off of eBay. Hey, thanks for sharing, and Burke, I appreciate it. So here's a picture of some of those clovers, right? Hee hee. So I'm going back and forth between the picture of the clovers that I got off of Pixabay, and I'll put links to the wildflowers on Pixabay in the description of the video on YouTube later. If you did not see, this is my YouTube channel here. If you're on Whatnot and you want to join my YouTube channel, Tristina Dietzelm's Artist, if you just type in Tristina and Artist on YouTube, you'll find me. Um, okay, so, and then we're using this book tonight, which is Wildflower Watercolor, and she shows you her way of doing the clovers. Okay, so I'm going back and forth between the two, the photo of the real clovers and then her interpretation of the clovers here. So we've got I'm just looking to see what I might do here. Okay. So I've just got some little sort of leaves right in here. There we go with that one. All right. And then over here, we want to do the same thing. It's okay to go up inside here and add a little bit of green because there's green underneath, sort of underneath where those petals are coming from, right? That is a-okay to do that. So I'm just using the tip of the brush and adding a little bit of green. If you feel like the green is too much, just take a clean part of your paper towel and just dab it on there and lift it up, and it takes some of the green off. And that way the green it's barely there that way. That way it's barely there. And this one, I'll take a little bit of it off too. Okay. So you see how it kind of gives life to the pink there by having that little bit of green inside there. All right, and then let me just move that out of the way, move that over a little bit. Um, so let me just, I've got another stem that comes down here. And then this one is going to have some little bits there. And then there's a stem that comes down here. Okay. So we've got our little stems in for the clover. Now we get to do some 4-leaf clovers. And I showed before, I have the Van Gogh pocket box here. This is Sap Green. So I'm not getting dark enough with the green that's in the Luminous set. So here's the luminous green, and it's quite bright, which is great. It's just I find that when I want to do leaves, you want some variation across your leaves. So I think it helps to have some of the sap green to combine in with that luminous green. And you can combine any watercolors, so do not worry. It's fine. It's fine. You'll be good. And what I want to do is a 4-leaf clover, y'all. So let's give her a try from the center and then sort of around, right? Because the four-leaf clovers have a like that, and then maybe there, and this comes down, and then there's going to be another one over here like this. Maybe I'll make this one a four-leaf clover, right? Ah, it's going to be a four-leaf clover. It's the lucky one. It's hanging out down here. Oh, okay. And some of the leaves are sort of almost elongated. Not all of them are actual, like the little clovery things there. Some of them are a little bit long, like that. There we go. So we're just putting in, filling the space, right? We're filling some of the space. So I'm going to go like this, and then I'm going to have my four-leaf clover. So I'm going to roll it. That's why I'm using the soft sable hair, so I can roll it. And it kind of creates that, you see the shape it gives you, that rolled shape. Don't be afraid to move your paper around also. Just be sure that your wrist doesn't go down on wet paint, okay? So let's bring this one in here. Yee! There's the 3 instead of the 4, right? Now we're going to want to have another one over here. And we want to have something sort of back in here. So let me do one that's more like a long one like this. Okay. So there's a little bitty bit coming here. So this is where you're going to start to, okay, what do I need to do to sort of fill in the space? I'm just going to leave that for right now because we actually have these two that are going to come down. These are the lavender, and the lavender has these sort of long, thin leaves that go with it. So I'm going to leave the rest of this space here for the lavender. Let me grab some more of this because we've got a couple over here. And let's bring this here. And I'm going to do the 3-leaf. Let's get the round there, and then another round right here. And then another round over here. Nice. Add in as many 4-leaf clovers as you want. Oh, okay. I definitely want to have one of the ones that's a little bit sort of long and straight over here. Let's put another one that has, so I'm always evaluating and making adjustments on the fly here as I'm working. I'm sort of almost holding it back, maybe not physically, but in my mind, I'm holding it back so that I can see where I am, see what's happening as a whole. Okay, I'm constantly evaluating it as a whole. All right, that's enough for those. You can always go back and add more. All right, easy peasy. I know there's a lot more that, like grasses and things, that would be in the background. All right, let's go to the St. John's wort right here, these yellows. The yellow. All right, let me find the yellow. So here's what the St. John's wort looks like right there in the book. And I'm going to go, I'm ready to put in some of the greens. So it has a main stalk and then little tiny stalks coming off of it. Okay. And it's a really dark green, dark green. So since I need a dark green, I'm dipping into my Sap Green, which is from the Van Gogh set. And then I want to add the darker colors. What if I pick up some of this brown that we used on the coneflower. Yeah, see what happens? I get a dark green. So don't be afraid to just say, what if? Because you know what? If you mix a color and you don't like it, you just use your paper towel and you wipe it up and you try again. Okay? So that's kind of a darker olivey green. Let's try that for the St. John's wort. Now I want to be careful because there's a little bit of wetness down here and I don't want to stick my wrist in it and then stick it somewhere else on the page. I'm famous for that. So I'm actually steadying my hand for this. I'm putting my thumb on my arm and I'm going to put my arm on the side of the table and that'll help me to steady my hand as I'm doing this. So the center is coming right down here. And I need this to be a little bit thicker. There we go. Like that. And then this literally has just little bits that come off the side. And then these each have their own little, each one of the little buds has their own little stalk. Okay, again, I've got my arm up on my wrist so I can steady this. And I'm just making little lines from it to show that it's going to attach to the base in there, which is back behind that other leaf. Okay, so I'm going to bring this down like this, and we've got one that comes here, and one that comes here, and one that comes here. Okay, so we've got those little branches that are coming off of the center. Now there's also really cute they're little tiny leaves that come here. So let me see what direction I want. I think I want to do them from tip to back like that. So I'm making sure that wherever I put my hand down is dry. And I'm just creating little leaves here. They have these cute little leaves that come off of there. This one at the top actually doesn't have that. This is going to have a little leaf that comes off of here. So now's your time to just work with some of the details. And wherever those branches intersect with it, there are also little leaves that come off of there. So I'm actually going to put a little leaf right back here and another one right here and another one right here. See how you're sort of building the stalk. You're just filling in some of the details. Here, there's going to be a little leaf right here and a little leaf right over here. And a little leaf here. A little leaf, let's say there's a little leaf coming out here. Just building details, y'all. Okay, like that. And this one is going to have little bits coming off like that. Let's get a little leaf, say, is coming there. And a little leaf is coming here. Just looking to see where else I might. Okay. I need a little something right here. And then a little leaf right here. Little leaf right here. Okay. So I would go back and spend a little more time on that, building it out, but that's the basic idea. And I wanted, see how the color is olive, and I really wanted it to be different and dark like that. So the dark olive. Okay. So now for the cornflower, I actually want it to be even a little bit darker, almost brown. So I'm just taking some of it and adding it to some of the brown that we had in there before. So I'm constantly reusing what I already have on my palette there. Let me get plenty of water. Okay, so with the cone flower, we've got the cone flower coming down, 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 down. Down like that. I don't know what the coneflower leaves look like. I'm going to have to look them up. Let's see what they look like. So somewhere in here, she has the cornflower. Let's see. I'm not sure what direction it's in. Okay, I think it's this way. Okay, so just long, sort of thinny thins. So let's do that. I think for these, I'm going to use the really big one for the leaves. So let's just pick up what's left in here so far. And a little bit of the brown. There we go. There's not a lot of color in that. So let's see if we can pick up some more color. Good. I'm constantly just playing around and mixing. So I don't want to go too far off the page over here, because when you're painting, imagine that you have to mat this. Okay. Somebody's got to frame it. So let's look at the skinny mat. It's going to need a skinny mat for this one, for the 9x12. So here's a skinny mat. And if you look at the skinny mat here, let's bring that down. So you can see it's okay to go off the side, but you just periodically take your mat and put it on your artwork and see where things are laying and how you might want to adjust to make it look better. Okay. So that's always helpful to have that handy. And let's get the green that I had on here. And these are just sort of long and press down, squiggle just a little bit, and meet the stem. Okay, I need a little more color, so I'm grabbing a little more of that sap green. But whoo, that is like too green. So I got to go back into the bright green and grab a little bit more brown, right? Constantly adjust, adjust, adjust. Okay, that's better. All right. And so down here, I'm going to bring it back behind this yellow. So I have to be really careful. So I want it to be wide back behind there. There we go. So that's the leaf going back behind the yellow. And I can see, you see how there's a big bunch of water there with that? So what I want to do is take the end of a clean part of my paper towel down and right up, and now it makes sense. It's not going to dry too dark on you, right? Okay. So I'm actually going to put another one over here, and I'm going to bring it right next to the edge. So right near the edge here, I just lightly to get the tip and then push down. Ooh, not enough water on my brush. Start to squiggle it and bring it into the stem. Okay, I'm just adding a little bit more to the stem because it's a little darker green. There we go. Now, what I'm getting here is what's called a dry brush effect. You see how on the cold press paper that has texture, it's not smooth. So if you want it smooth, just add a little more water to your brush and just go right back over top of it. Boop. There we go. That just smoothed the edges a little bit there. Nice. Okay, that fixed it. Let's see. Ooh, I'm excited about the Indian paintbrush here. Indian paintbrush is so pretty. So let's see. I'm in the book. Where's the Indian paintbrush? This is what I do when I'm at my desk. I'm constantly flipping through. Which one do I want to do next? Do I want to put a dandelion in there? Do I want to put a Cosmo in there? What is it? Roses, right? There it is, the Indian paintbrush. Okay, so I'm using this for reference, so to see how does the stem look, right? I could have looked up an image of the Indian paintbrush on Pixabay, but I'm having fun using this author's book. Now, I want a little bit more control because this big brush, the size 8, is a little bit bigger and more wavy. I need a little more control in the center here. So I'm going to use the size 6. Was it 6? No, 4. I'm going to use the size 4. Let's get some more green going here. Let's mix it up so it's not the same. There we go. And so I'm going to be essentially bringing it straight down from the center here. And then we're going to do all the little bits that go off to the side. There we go. You have to decide what's going over and what's going under. This one basically goes under everything. It's in the back. There we go. So there's the stem for it. Let's figure out the little, all these little flowers that come off of here. Oh, I see there's a little tiny hair. Sometimes when you have a natural hair brush, that happens where the hairs want to come out. Okay, so here it's as simple as like connecting these to the base with just little marks here and there, because the Indian paintbrush is it's a little bit fluffy. So there's actually like little fluff. Some of it comes and connects that. So it's okay to have you see the little marks around the outside of it because it's actually sort of fluffy and hairy, these flowers. If you need a reference, just like I said, go to Pixabay, look up a reference, and then you can see the actual flower as well. Okay. Now, you may not have noticed that, but it went over the orange. So sometimes I'll just take my finger and right away I'll push it off. Doesn't always work, but I can always come back in and put of the more of that orangey red in there. Okay. So I'm just putting some green in different areas here. Here we go with this one. Here we are here with this one. So we're just, and there are little leaves here on their own even. Okay. There we go. You want to make it a little bit fluffy, little fluffy. Let's bring it down like this. Okay. And there's that one right there. There's a little one down here. And don't be afraid to put some leaves in there. So there, as you get further down, where you don't have the flowers, you can start to put leaves. I was running out of water in my brush there. So let's just put some more leaves like this. And then I can just do another leaf in here, like that. And then I'm imagining that one's coming out over this way, but lots of water on my brush, so I'm just going to pick some of that up. And so here's another leaf out this way. And then something over here that's going to go back behind there. Right. Oh, that is just so beautiful. That's the Indian paintbrush. So look that up if you're not familiar with the actual plant is just beautiful. So let me do that there and make it a little thicker as it comes back behind here. There we go. Clean part of my paper towel, pick up a little bit of the wetness there. And like this, a little bit more here. Right? So you're just building some petals as it goes down. Nice. Now, let's go ahead and do the lavender. Ooh, there's a lot of brown on in the you see the water here, there's a lot of brown in it because I've been working with just lots of different colors. So let me just move this out of the way. And I have a container here because my sink is way over on the other side of the house. So I just had, this is a Lebney, and I have yogurt containers, and I keep the lids. And then when the water gets too dirty, because that was coming out brown when I was trying to, yeah, it looks orangey brown. So I'm going to pour that off. This way you can not have to get up from your table while you are painting. You can just clean it out, and then I have a bottle of clean water here, and that way this will just go into the sink later. I can set that aside and get myself some fresh water, and that way I'm good to go. I have a second water right over here. That's for cleansing the brush. So like right now, this brush still probably has some orange in it. So I'm going to put it in the water that's off to the side before I put it back into the fresh water. There we go. Another paper towel. We're almost done. Woo! And if you're on Whatnot, I hope you'll have taken a chance to go take a look at my buy now and the auction tab. Let me know if there's something you want to see this evening. Okay, we'll come back to this. Ooh, I'm so happy, right? I just love the colorfulness and the variety of the wildflowers are so nice. Now, I think with the lavender, let's go back to the lavender. You see how important it is to have good reference books in your library as an artist, right? Like I know conceptually what I want to do. I want to create a wildflower painting, but what are some of the elements? I love doing the cornflower and I love doing the lavender. But what else is there that I can, based on the colors that I have, right, from this luminous set, what other flowers go with it? Well, I go straight to my books, this book and this book, DIY Watercolor Flowers and Wildflower Watercolors. So let's find the lavender, which was near the beginning, and see just simple little leaves here. So let's do that. I want to I'll have links to these books in the description of the video on YouTube later tonight. I go make my dinner and I sit there and I add the links in the description of the YouTube video for you. Thank you, Salmon's girl. So pretty. Let's again, let's go with something maybe somewhat bright. So I want to stick to this little bit to this bright green. And I think just use the whatever's left in here of the dark green. Now, here's the green. You see how it's broken up into pieces where it's dry? You can rehydrate it, but it's just, I'm telling you, it's so much easier just to use it out of the tube. Y'all, don't be afraid to use your paint. Do not be afraid to use your paint, okay? Paint is there to do what with? To paint with. So just use it. Use it like crazy, okay? I have to remind myself to do that all the time too. It's like more painting, more. Just use it. Just have fun, use it. That's when your best artwork comes out, I think, is when you just throw caution to the wind and go, I'm going to try this and then I'm going to try that and then I'm going to do that. awesome. Okay, I'm just picking up some more of that yellow, putting it in here. It's still a bright color, but it's just slightly different than straight out of the tube. Okay, nice full brush here. So let's just, with the lavender, you've got that same, like there are little green um, bit stems that go to each one of those flowers. So here toward the bottom, I'm going to use the tip of the brush and sort of make little lines here from those flowers, and then bring it down to a stem. And then I'm sort of varying the pressure on the stem so that I can get an organic shape out of it. And then I'm going to come back inside here and I'm going to add, that's why I didn't worry about leaving a little bit of white there. And I'll bring it up close in just a second so you can see what I'm talking about. You're actually sort of connecting those flowers into the base using some of that white space. So do not be afraid of white space. White space is awesome. It gives you an opportunity to come back in and connect things. So let me show you. See there? The little green that's inside there. I think the little bit of green inside there makes it very exciting. It like ties it together. Especially, I love the combination of purple and green. Love that combo. Okay, now over here, we're going to do the same thing. So I'm just going to grab little lines that are going to come, like there is going to be a central stem here, but I'm also going to have little bits that are coming out off of the central stem. And I'm pressing and lifting and trying to make that a little bit organic, okay? Making that a little bit organic. Don't worry that there's a little knob there. I'll just put a leaf there, right? So just go for it. Okay, so now I'm gonna work back up into the flowers and put little bits of green up in there so that that way it connects it to the stem. Lovely. There we go. Almost done with that. Fantastic. And now, because I've been mixing with all different kinds of greens and yellows and oranges here, and a little bit of sap green from this set, um, you see where there's a variety on all the greens. Even this green that I just created doesn't match any of the other greens. So I'm constantly tweaking my greens when I'm working with different plants so that they each kind of have their own unique green color. So now I want the leaves to be a little bit darker. So I'm going to grab a little bit of the blue right here, a little bit of blue, and put it in with the green. And what that'll do is that'll darken the color, darken the green a little bit, just to have something different. Now it's looking a little bit too seafoamy to me. So I'm actually going to put just a little bit more of the luminous green in there. If you're just joining us, welcome in. I am doing a demonstration of using the uh, Holbein Luminous Watercolors. There we go. Holbein Luminous Watercolors. Bright colors, they are not light fast. So I will, when I finish my painting, I'll have to scan it and then make prints from it. But amazing for illustrations, just amazing. Okay, so the nice thing is these leaves are long. So do I want to use this size? I'm going to use this size up here. Again, I just start with a little and then they're just sort of, see there? Easy peasy. You see the little tip right there? I'm using the tip of the brush, putting the tip down and then pressing down and dragging and sort of doing this. Okay, let's use just a little bit more there with a little bit more of the green in it. And I'm going to bring this from here. I'm going to do it from here. do just put that one right there. Why not? Why not? They don't have to be like perfectly shaped leaves. Okay, so I'm going to bring another leaf over here on this side. Remember how we're almost to the very edge over here? So let's do that over here. I'm going to start near the very edge here. Just give myself a little line and then go flat, flat, and wiggle, 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 and bring that in. So now I've got that one right there. Let's grab some more. And then what else? I want to do one that starts over here and then start the wiggle and then come to this side right here and then bring it down to the base. So that one actually goes back behind. There we go. That's fun. And now I know what I need to do next. I need to put one that goes this way from this one, right? Back in behind here or not. The other option I have, well, yeah, I do need one. I do need one there. I'm just going to add more water so it's a little bit lighter and to imagine that it's a little bit back behind these other ones. So I'm going to start it over here and do it flat and then another flat there and then some more flat here. Ah, I'm having to put it way back behind these, right? Now, you see, remember I said there's a lot of water there. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take my paper towel. I'm just going to lay it flat on there and lift. There we go. But you know, you get the idea. It's back behind the stuff. The cornflower and the clover are in front of it, right? Okay. So what I like to do sort of at the end of positioning my different flowers is I like to add some grasses, sort of yellowy, browny kind of grass for the back, underneath here. And so let's see what we have going here that I can turn into that. This looks sort of like a combination of the yellow and orange and green, and it's giving me just a heather kind of color. See that? Maybe I'll grab just a tiny bit more of the green in there. Maybe just a little bit more. There we go. So you see that color that I created? And that's I'm constantly just pulling from one into the other, into the other, into the other like that and creating, interesting colors, but they're all coming from the same group of colors that I'm working with. Okay, so now this is the squirrel, so it has nice bounce. And I'm just going to, let's say I'm starting from here and I'm going to bring it's a grass. So I'm just bringing the grass down to here, right? I'm just sort of creating some more interest with a color that's not too in your face, but it's there. If you're looking at it in person, you see it. And I just follow the arc here of where the grass would be going. There we go. So you see how I'm sort of filling in some of those spaces, just putting it in the background. And I definitely want to have a piece that is, where is it? Maybe it starts from here. Starting here, it's coming down like this. And then back behind here. And it's going to actually come like right down and sort of meet where this one is right here. Now there's a little bit much up here, so I'm going to get a clean part of this, and I'm going to go over it and that. Right? So we've just got one here. It's not like pointy enough for me. I'm going to add a point. There we go. It's just part of the background. I'll put some more over here. Let's do one that maybe starts right here, then comes this way, down here, here. Kind of have to follow an arc. Okay, right there, here, here. It's coming down back behind here. So there we go. That's another one. Nice. So that what I'm doing is I'm using this to balance out my composition. I'm looking like, where is there too much white space? It's okay to have some white space, but you want to look and say, okay, where can I add a little bit of this grass that it will help sort of pull everything together, right? So I do feel like I need one last little bit over here. So let me bring this from here like this, and then it'll come here, and then it comes here. I'm following the arc, and then a little bit right here, and then it would come across here and sort of in with that one. Now it went over top of that little bit of the green, so I just pushed it off with my finger. So sometimes I get in there and I'm like, ah, get off of that. Oh, okay, I want this to be seen a little bit better. Okay, so I feel that's very much more in balance. It's fun, right? Fun, fun, fun. I'm loving it. Oh my gosh. And I want to thank everybody who's here this evening. That's the end of the workshop portion of the show. I always go back and I reevaluate the artwork, and then I like the middle of these flowers are going to need a little something, and I may rework some of it or not. Sometimes I look at it tomorrow and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's done. It's gorgeous, right? I don't need to do anything. Stop, don't touch it. Oh, I never know. Let me show you, for instance, here. See, like I was saying, periodically I'll pull this over and I'll look and be like, okay, how does it look? You have to look at like how is it balanced with the mat as well, right? So you really have a feel for what does it actually look like. But I think that was a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoyed it too.